So, as I mentioned, there was an odd comment, whatever. So this is a video that I did over a month ago now, but the comment is fairly recent. This is the first version of it. There's an edited version that came later. It's been like 4 days, I think, now, since the comment got posted. Anyway, so Pamela Rosen writes, "By the by, I don't know, obviously, what YouTubers you were watching to see how Loki was faring prior to making your video before seeing the show, which all great reviewers do, make videos regarding specifics of a character in a show they haven't yet watched. But having seen only 1 minute of your riveting video..."
Good Lord.
So you're criticizing me for not watching the show before I did the video, but you're making a comment before you finish watching the video. Okay. I feel I should tell you that Loki is actually a hit. Is it? Okay. I mean, that's immaterial. It doesn't really matter. Also, what YouTubers I was watching to see how it was faring? Why would I be watching YouTubers to see how it was faring? Like, I mean, I guess the suggestion there is that because it's a hit, I shouldn't make any videos critical of it, right? Like, I should have seen that, oh no, this is popular, don't you dare say anything bad about it. I will say what I wish, thank you very much. Also, this is not a review video. This was reading an article from Cosmic Book News about how Loki was being made canonically gender fluid or sex fluid or both or whatever in the MCU. That's what the article is about. That's what my video is about. Not a review. It's doing quite well. Good for it. Possibly surpassed expectations. Except that I'll be honest, I don't know what the expectations were. However, the audience for Loki is large, happy, and basically just waiting with bated breath for the finale. So, your opening statement loses a lot of its oomph when it turns out to be completely wrong. I think the opening statement was that other people had been saying that based on what they had either seen of it or what they'd heard about it, one or the other, or maybe both, it looked like it was going to be crap. And I agreed with that assumption. That, yeah, thought it looked like it was going to be crap, probably. And now that I've seen it, I have to kind of agree, yeah, seems like it's pretty disappointing. I mean, I expected it to be bad, but I hoped that it would actually, be good. But no, it's not. I mean, it has good moments. It has its moments. Of course, most things do. Most things have their moments. But overall, it's kind of boring. I mean, I can kind of see what they're trying to do with it. And maybe if it had been done a little bit differently, a little bit better, it might have worked. But at least for me, it ain't working. On the other hand, you could simply have spent less than 50 minutes watching the first episode, so you would at least be speaking with some authority. Why should I need to speak with authority? But you didn't. Too bad, so sad. And then, I don't know if that's supposed to be a sad face or a raspberry face or what. I don't know. Well, the first episode dropped on the 9th, and I posted my video on the 10th, which means that I probably did my video on the 9th, and it's like, I'm not paying for Disney Plus, no fucking way. So, like, in order to see it, I've got to spend some time to find somebody else who's paying for Disney Plus so that I can watch it. It's like, So the idea that I could do that, it's like, why would I do that? It's like I'm covering an article that came out before the first episode, and the first episode just dropped, and it's like, you want me to wait several days until I can get around to seeing it, and then be like, oh yeah, sure, now I'll post this video about a rumor that we now have seen is proven true. There's no point in doing the video at that point, is there? Now they did an edit sometime in the 10 hours after they posted that first part of their comment. They edited and posted even more, a great big wall of text. Please format your comments better with some more paragraph breaks so that it's just, it's easier to read. Apparently, you're not familiar with Loki's character from mythology, the comics, or even the Marvel movies. Well, as I believe I've mentioned before, from the comics, no, because I've never really been into the comics that much, and I'm not going to go spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to get old copies of comics to try to read them all. Not sufficiently interested, nor do I have the money. The movies, it's like I've watched the movies. I mean, I don't know what you think that I've missed or whatever. And from mythology, well, again, it's like I did reread some about the character from mythology in Wikipedia recently because of probably because of this other person's comment down below. But prior to that, it's like, yes, I was familiar with the mythological character, but it had been like 15 or 20 years since I read about it, so, you're bound to forget some things. In both mythology and the comics, Loki literally shapeshifts from male to female, gives birth to some children, goes back and forth as the tales continue. Okay. So are you suggesting that all shapeshifters are gender fluid if they change genders or sexes or whatever when they shapeshift? So Odo appears as the female changeling, that means he's gender fluid. Mystique has appeared as men many times, so she's gender fluid. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that that's accurate, nor do I believe it's accurate that Loki is gender fluid. I think that that's something that SJWs are projecting onto him because they want that to be the case. But it doesn't really hold true. Again, it's like, the clue in a way is the giving birth to children. It's like his actions are essentially, they're calculated. It's like he's changing sexes and species in order to achieve his ends. So it's part of a plot. It's not it's not because he just feels like a woman. It's like, no, that's not it. That's the second thing a reviewer should do. Again, this was not a review video. 1, watch a show before commenting on the character. Now wait a minute. Watch the show before commenting on the show. That makes sense, but before commenting on the character that predates the show, if you're including the mythological character by at least 1,000 years predates the show, that doesn't make any sense. 2, do research on the character if it's one as well known as Loki. How about you don't get to tell me how to spend my afternoon? Oh yeah, spend your whole day researching this bullshit. Like, how about I just give my comments as they come, and and you can give yours in return, like you've done. Research Norse mythology. Well, if I do that, it'll be because I'm interested in it, not because I'm doing research for a fucking video. Research Marvel comics. As I said, I'm not going to go back and spend a ton of money to try to read all those. Watch the Marvel movies. I already have. Loki has supposedly been around for thousands of years. He/she/ I'm not sure of the correct pronoun to use, has appeared in I don't know how many Marvel comics because I'm willing to admit ignorant. Okay, you got a massive run-on sentence there. You need to fix that. As far as the proper pronoun, it's he, because the character was born male and always reverts back to male. I mean, not, I suppose, the female Loki version that appears in the Loki show, but like the actual Loki from mythology and from the comics and everything. It's like, yes, it's like that character's always been canonically male. On the other hand, I didn't make a video about the character. Well, why don't you? Why don't you make your own video and educate us all? However, I do know that Loki in the comics also goes back and forth from female to male, just like in mythology. Okay, depending on where and which comics you're reading. Okay, so what? It's probably it again. It's because of it's because of evil machinations. It's not it's not because it just feels like it. Although in the SJW ones, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Loki becomes female so that he can seduce some guy. In the Marvel movies, while people watching may know the background I just mentioned, there are others who may not. However, Loki was played from the movie Thor onwards as, at the very least, a bisexual character, which doesn't make the gender fluid. Them gender fluid? I don't know. But does change the sexual orientation of Loki, which, from what you've said so far in your video, likely makes you uncomfortable. Why would it make me uncomfortable? And as far as it being played as a bisexual character, if that was happening, I think it was sufficiently subtle that I didn't notice. And probably that was by design, if they really were doing that, so that they wouldn't offend the Chinese or other markets that don't like that. Anyway, as far as, I mean, make me uncomfortable. I don't understand. It's a fictional character. It's like if a fictional character, regardless of which one it is, happens to be gay or straight or bi, how does it make anyone uncomfortable or comfortable? Either way, it just doesn't make any sense. Why do I say that? Possibly because you are comfortable enough to comment on an actress's looks and attack how she appears to you. It's rude, disrespectful, and I fail to see what in the world it has to do with Loki's gender or sexual orientation. Okay, they're referring to me, my squirrel moment, where I noticed that as I started to read this. I noticed that it said Gal Gadot was out. I didn't want to do a whole video on this article, so I just made some quick comments about that, and I said the only good thing that might come of that, I believe, would have been if they recast, then if they could find somebody as tall as she is and as beautiful as she is, that they could also look for somebody who's maybe a little bit more muscular than she is, because she's just kind of thin, and I felt like Wonder Woman should be played by, the other Amazons, a number of them are played by, presumably they're not, particularly talented actresses. Not that Gal Gadot is super talented either, but even less talented actresses, maybe the fitness models or something. But it's like a number of the other Amazons, they've got like more visible, muscles on their arms and shit. And it's like, and it's like, I just felt like, okay, well, if you're going to recast anyway, then how about you look for somebody who maybe is a little bit more buff, just a bit, not super buff, just just buff enough, But it's like it's not an attack. It's not, I'm not being rude. I don't think I'm being disrespectful. And yeah, it was just an aside because I didn't want to do a whole separate video on that subject. It's like, comment on actress looks and attack how she appears.
At some point, is that like a personal attack or something? Or?
Not an attack. Anyway, don't know what it has to do with his gender or sexual orientation. Nothing, of course. Well, you're correct there. It doesn't have anything to do with it. You just randomly threw it in. I randomly noticed another article. I'm so sorry that I didn't stay sufficiently on topic for you. But I find that people who are that obnoxious generally pair that up with feelings of opaque or oblique homophobia. Really? Okay, I'm an istophobe, apparently. And you know that, just from that. That's like a cop knowing that, I've been smoking pot because my eyes are bloodshot because I haven't had enough sleep. It's like, that's not true. Haven't been smoking pot. And, you knowing that I'm a homophobic or whatever, it's like, no, I guarantee you I am not. If, if you knew anything about me, if you knew anything about the kinds of things that I have watched, have read, and enjoyed over the decades. Don't think you'd think that. If I was homophobic, I really think I probably wouldn't enjoy the crying game as much as I do.
Hi, Jimmy.
Don't think I would have enjoyed Queer as Folk as much as I did. I don't know. Anyway, maybe an explanation for this is that this person, like so many lefties, and I did look at their channel and saw that, yeah, they're clearly a leftist. They don't get that I can be opposed to the virtue signaling and not opposed to whatever the subject of the virtue signaling happens to be. Like, I can be against, Marvel and Disney virtue signaling about bisexuals or whatever, and not have anything at all against bisexuality or people who are bisexual. It's like, no, my problem is with the soulless corporation and their empty, hollow bullshit. And I do kind of take exception to trying to change existing characters that have never. I mean, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing in your comments here. It's like you're trying to pretend like Loki's always been, something that he really never was. Like, oh, he's always been bisexual, and it's like, why is that? Well, because he's changed between male and female and had sex in his female form, and it's like, okay, but that would be straight sex, right? It's like, either that would be straight sex, and therefore that is not him being bisexual, that's him still being heterosexual. Or you would have to be admitting that even though he changed from male to female, he's still, at heart, male. And that's what makes it bisexual. Can't have it both ways. Well, you can if you're bisexual, I guess, but you can't have the argument both ways, is what I meant. Anyway, so, anybody watching this, let me know in the comments what you think about whatever this is. Why do you think this person felt the need to say all this, and why do you think it is that there does seem to be that automatic assumption of, oh, you're against the virtue signaling, that means you're against whatever it is that's being virtue signaled about. It's like, oh, you're an istophobe. It's like, nope, that's not the issue. Anyway, until the next one.
Now give us a kiss. Stop it.